I'm the father of 4 children, married to a beautiful woman named Heidi, who happens to be an oncology nurse. And I think probably one of the more critical components to our success in our marriage and in our family is that the cornerstones that we chose to build upon were always there in terms of what we wanted as a family, in terms of what we wanted as a faith, and in terms of what we wanted as a future. So when Heidi and I made the decision to get married and move forward in our life, probably the most complimentary thing was that foundation and base that we had. I was diagnosed with colorectal cancer, and it was quite a shock as it came from completely out of the blue. The initial symptoms that I found were that I had blood in my stool. Looking hindsight, I saw that I had other symptoms as well, such as bloating and a little bit of irregularity in my stool production. Because I was concerned that this problem was continuing, I pushed hard and actually was allowed to finally go see a gastroenterologist. At that time, we scheduled a colonoscopy, and I did find indeed that I had a relatively large mass on my rectum. They recommended that I go with neoadjuvant therapies and radiation. Once I finished my regimen, we began a few scans of my body, and the first returned very favorable results that there was no evidence of cancer in my abdomen or pelvis. At that time, we felt that I was probably out of the woods. But just 4 days later, I got a phone call from my oncologist. When I answered the phone, I heard immediately that there was concern in her voice. She told me that they had found some lesions on my lungs. So I said, "How many?" And she said, "At least 12. The information I was gathering was horrific. Being told that you have cancer is a challenge in and of itself. Being told that it's metastasized is opening up a Pandora's box. I recognized every horror that could be recognized about cancer at that moment as it all came rushing out of that box at me. So we moved to the next level, which was to go and meet with the oncologist and ask exactly how we would move forward with treatments and therapies. While I was suffering from the side effects, there were days when it was difficult just to get out of bed. It was difficult to move across the room. And on those very same days, I could go out and watch my children play sports. And for some reason, the 2 hours that they'd be participating in that sports activity brought my spirits so high that for that small length of time in the day, I didn't feel sick and I didn't feel sore. So to me, just seeing them on a daily basis lifts my spirits. I can't fathom what it would be like to be a child and to have the challenge of seeing your parent in the pain and concern and confusion that a cancer patient goes through. But to see my children stand strong and keep their character and keep their nature the same beautiful people that I've always known they would be is absolutely awe-inspiring to me. When you're diagnosed with cancer, I'd say one of the things that you have to focus on is yourself. And if you're not one that does a lot of that, that can be a challenge because you have to recognize you're very important as a person and you have to take priority. Fatigue is a perfect example. It was very difficult for me at 1:30 in the afternoon to recognize I'm going to lay down and take a nap. But over time, I recognized that was the best way to approach my disease. That way, when I woke up at 2:45 and the children were coming back from school, I had more energy. I was more receptive to spend time with them. My favorite place is Zephyr Cove up at Lake Tahoe in Nevada. We were up there and I'd always wanted to go parasailing, and it's something that's available there. So off the top of my head, I said, boy, I'd love to go parasailing. And my wife said, go, that'd be great, just go. And I said, no, it's too expensive. She said, oh, go. So I got brave and said, I'll go parasailing. So for giggles, I said to my 4 children, does anyone want to go with me? My youngest daughter said, I do. So it was only about an hour and a half later that the 2 of us were floating high above Lake Tahoe. And there's an eerie silence up there as you're carried in the breeze. And she said to me, Daddy, just think, the angels get to do this all the time. And I couldn't respond, and I was frozen. And all I could say to her is, yes, they do, but remember, Daddy doesn't want to be an angel anytime soon, so.